Anis Osama is a power forward for the Egyptian national team. He first played in Afrobasket in 2013 when he was 18 years old, and more recently played with the national team for the final window of the 2019 FIBA World Cup qualifiers. He currently plays for the Egyptian club Zamalek.
All right.
Hey,
How are you doing, Anis?
I'm actually great. What about you guys? Everyone's good?
I'm doing good, man. Doing real lovely.
That's great. That's
I'm
great.
excited to have you on the show.
I'm
Great.
excited to be here. Definitely.
Right. So before we start, where are you?
I'm actually in Alexandria. We're on a training camp. We have been for the past 2-3 weeks now. We actually stopped the league just for this window, so we've been in the camp this whole time.
Wow, that's impressive for a national team to dedicate so much time to preparation.
Yeah, I know. So the way how our league goes, it's always kind of like revolved around the national team. So whenever there's a window, we stop a month or a month and a half before the window just to prepare the team. And it's recent. We've been starting to do this recently, I think in the last couple of years only, just because previously we had a lot of problems where people who get hurt in the league and they can't, compete with the national team. And I think that caused us a lot of problems back, especially in the last World Cup qualifiers, that we missed a lot of our stars and our big players, going into the qualifications. So we kind of, that caused us, to go last year to the World Cup. So I think we're trying to change that up a little bit.
Definitely, because Egypt is considered a powerhouse in Africa. You guys have won 5 Afrobasket titles, with the last one coming in 1983. More recently, you claimed silver in 2013, but narrowly, like you said, missed out on the 2019 World Cup. Heading into these qualifiers, what is the team's goal? Obviously, I'm thinking a podium finish next year in September.
Absolutely. I mean, the only thing we're talking about right now is already the 2023 World Cup. I mean, that's just the goal. This is what we're preparing for. It's not like we talked about this, a month, pretty much like a month ago when we first met, was we're not looking under our feet. We're not just preparing for 3 games coming up in this window. We're not preparing for the Afrobasket. We're preparing for the big podium. So our goal is to go to World Cup in 2023, and that's what we're preparing for step by step along the way.
That's awesome. I think to have a really long-term vision, and obviously you guys are going to plan window to window. You can't overlook anybody in that goal.
Exactly.
Speaking of qualifiers, you guys are headlining Group E in Alexandria. Egypt will be competing against Morocco, Uganda, and Cape Verde. How do you feel about each of those opponents?
I mean, honestly, like you kind of mentioned, I've been kind of away from 2013 all the way to 2019. It's almost 6 years that I did not compete. I was over in America in my college career, and I just couldn't really balance the time to come back to play in Egypt. But during that time, a huge leap was, happening in Africa. We can't deny that. All the teams have grown a lot better, a lot faster, a lot stronger. And honestly, when I came back in 2019, I almost missed every single window all the way until the last one. And I was lucky enough that I got to play that one. Obviously, we were hurt already from the window that was actually in Cairo about a couple of months earlier, and we lost almost every game at that window. I wasn't there, but it cost us, the qualifications pretty much. We couldn't go to World Cup because of that single window that happened here in Cairo. So I think playing Alexandria is going to almost be like a revenge for us. We performed really bad last time there was any window or any games played here in Egypt. So we're just going to try to, show up that wasn't us, and what we're trying to do is a lot bigger than that. And I mean, honestly, after the Corona pandemic, I mean, it's hard to judge anybody. I don't know how teams have been practicing. I don't know how well they've been, involved with the teams and leagues and the players, how ready they are. But you have to assume that everybody's 100%. You have to assume that everybody's going to be coming to win. So that's the mentality. You have to go back and, just try to compete and try to dominate every single game.
I have to admit, Oh, sorry, Karabani, you go.
Sorry. I just want you to clarify something. When you say window, what do you mean by window? Because you say you almost missed a lot of windows. Well, what is that?
So, I mean, this is the term we use here in Egypt, kind of like every time, the Africans meet for 3 or 4 games in a row, we just call that a window. Even if it doesn't qualify to the World Cup, even if it qualifies to the Afro Cup, we still refer to it as a window. So
Karabani, for World Cup, each group has 4 windows, or actually it's 2 windows per round. So if you got knocked out of the first round, you didn't go on to play windows 4, 5, and 6. So that's just a FIBA term for a group of games.
Each round is a window.
Each round. Exactly.
Okay, all right. Okay, I got it now. All right.
Well, I've got to admit, I was quite happy because when I was with Cameroon for the 4th window, I had written up a scanner report and you were in there and you didn't turn up.
Yeah, it was definitely something,
But that Cameroon-Egypt game in the last window could have been a big game.
It was tough, but I think we were. I still tell the guys we weren't ready for the load. I mean, we went into Tunisia game and we went to overtime. I think it was a tough game. I mean, everybody thought that we had no shot of winning that game, but we tried to compete, and then we ended up beating Tunisia the night before Cameroon, and I think that. Honestly, that was a big mistake. We kind of went toe to toe to Tunisia, and we kind of lost all our fuel and went into the last game with 0 fuel left. I think if we were a little smarter, it would not have been that way. Or if we would have handled business here in Egypt again, I always come right back to that because we lost. Yeah. I think we lost 3 games here that we should not have lost. I mean, you're playing in your home country and you shouldn't lose. I think it was 2 or 3 games.
You lost to DRC and Angola, I think.
Yeah.
You beat Morocco.
We beat Morocco, and then we lost the other 2 games. And, I mean, you should not have lost those type of games here in your country. So, I think that really cost us. That's different.
So I know you've already mentioned that you've kind of been away from African basketball, but you've been playing with Zamalek for the last 2 seasons and you played in that final window of the World Cup qualifiers. Which team and which player do you enjoy playing against the most? Do you have a specific matchup that you're like, okay, I'm ready for this guy? And do you have a team that you really enjoy beating?
That's what I was waiting for.
I mean, honestly, I'm just gonna enjoy meeting my teammates from Louisville back. Like, I really would like to play Nigeria. I'm gonna play against Rodin Nwara probably if he comes back. Or if I play Senegal, I really want to meet. I haven't seen Gorgui Deng in so long, and I think last time I saw him was probably 3 years ago. So it's not really like a favorite matchup as much as I'm going to use it as an opportunity to kind of meet up and connect with my guys again. Hopefully, go to Europe or hopefully go to the World Cup and, meet Donovan Mitchell, meet all the guys that we were, spent so much time together in college. And I mean, we still text, we still, catch up sometimes, but, playing against them is going to be something that I'm really going to be looking forward to.
Well, hey, I read an article that you once said the best player you played against was Jabari Parker. Is that still true?
Jabari was back in 2012, I think. We were in the World Cup under 17 in Lithuania, I think. It was in Lithuania, it's under 17. And he was just, he was a different breed back then. We were all young. I mean, we weren't really physically there, but he was, and he was ready. I think he was already about to get drafted, and we were all still, sophomores and juniors in high school. So it was definitely a sightsee. But honestly, I'll probably change that answer if it was to me today. I mean, I went to college and I played against a lot of guys who dominated, I think, and not necessarily in the same way, but honestly, my answer will probably change now.
Well,
For a
that's
lot
true.
of guys.
That's
not just one guy, but probably a lot of guys that I would probably consider.
now that's the answer that we're looking for. Who is that guy?
Played against.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it could be a guy you playing with. It's fine. It's fine.
I mean,
You can give props to your teammates.
the hardest guy that I've ever had to guard, and the hardest player that I ever had to face was probably Montrezl Harrell. I mean, in Louisville. My freshman year, I was 184 pounds. I don't know how much that is kilos. Oh my God, I was so skinny. I was coming out of Egypt. I remember Coach Pitino looking at me like, you probably never lifted weights in your life. And then Montrez, I mean, everybody knows Montrez. Even, he does his own thing in the NBA. He's this, undersized 4 guy. Like, he's just, has massive strength. He can jump, he can fly. And I had to go against him every single day in practice. And I mean, I'm telling you, and he would not back down. Like, he kicked my ass every single day. Like, and I owe him to that. Like a lot of times when you go against somebody who's probably not as physical as you are, and you're still learning in the process, people take it easy on you. But he did not, and I owe that to him, because by the end of that year, I was a different player. I was a completely different player with a different mentality in it. But he probably the guy that it was harder for me to guard. He was just unstoppable. He was way stronger than I was, and he was just different.
Now, heading back to Egypt, I know we could probably talk about your college,
It's okay.
college career all day.
I got it.
But in terms of the national team, you now have a new head coach, and I noticed on your squad list you've got a lot of rookies in there, or guys I haven't seen play recently. What should we expect from this kind of revamped team heading into qualifiers?
Well, honestly, Coach Les, the thing is, like, you kind of mentioned it earlier. You said last time we actually won the Afro Ball was, I don't know, back in 89 or 98 or something like that. And I think the problem with that was, we haven't focused on developing our younger guys. Like, even when I was in 2013, I was probably 18, but me and Osama was probably 22, and that's it. Everybody else was 29 and 28. Even when we went to the World Cup after that, it was everybody like 29, 28, 30. So I think that gap in the history was because of that specific reason. We people here did not focus on developing the younger players, giving them the chance early. When you're 21 and 22, when you try to compete, you're probably not going to make it in the first couple of tries, but when you're 25, you're probably going to have a pretty solid national team. So I think that's the mentality that coach is going for, and I think the whole federation is starting to see that. Right now, even in our Egyptian league, the people who are dominating are people who are like, 25 like me, 24s and 26, and those people who are probably going to impact the most in the Afro basket. So I think that's the mentality switch is there. It just needs more experience, and I think that's our job. People who's been there before, like me, Omar Arabi, and Haitham Kamal, Shusha, people who are actually played before. It's our job to show them that this is going to be physical. It's going to be tough mentally. It's a different game than you play here in the league. And the more they gain experience, the better off our team is going to be, hopefully before the 2023 World Cup.
Awesome. I think we just lost Karabani. Oh, wait.
No, I'm right here.
No.
Yeah. I'm right here. I'm right here.
I'm not going.
I'm just really quiet. I'm listening. I'm gonna jump in. Don't worry. I got a lot of questions. Right.
And so Anas, I love my stats, and you come out as one of the best rebounders in that final window. However, your team is one of the lower defensive rating teams in heading into qualifiers. Is defense something that you guys are working on?
I think it's I mean, I can't say we're working on it as a team, but I think player development comes to mind when it comes to that. I mean, everybody is focusing on what they can do better than they did before. Like, I think the problem with us is, and I think I face that problem every team I go. People defend and shot blockers. Like me and Omar or Robbie take a lot of shot blocks, and I think that affects our defensive margin is because, we get a lot of blow-bys, and I can't block every shot. There's no way I'll block every single shot coming my way. But I think this is something that Coach has been emphasizing. I mean, he's been talking a lot about how, yeah, we're here to help, but this is not our defensive strategy. We got a defense, out in the 3-point line all the way in. So it's something in process, and I think it's just, we have players who can guard. It's a mentality switch, I think. And when it comes down to saving energy.
I think Shusha is one of the best defensive players in Africa. So that's why I'm always so shocked how much dribble penetration you guys get. I think you answered it really well. They rely so much on you and Arabi to block everything that they're just a bit casual.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, it's okay. I've got my 7-footers behind me.
Yeah, I think that's the problem too.
Jumping into that, that's what I thought. What is the identity of your team? When you look at your team, what's your identity? Are you a defensive team or what? Because that's what I keep hearing. They got the 2 twin towers. Constantly, it's you and the other guy.
Well, I'd like to think that we're a defensive team. My whole life, I was always involved in programs where defense came first. And I think Coach loves defense a lot more than he does offense. He talks a lot more about defense than he does offense. We have a lot of, offensive talent guys, but we have to play, as a team when it comes down to defense. So I think I would like to think that our identity is more of a defensive team, but I think we just have to wait and see how it plays out when I actually play live in games.
Karabani, I think you need to know that Egypt shoots around 30 or more threes in a game, which is far more than any other national team you'll see. So if you want to talk about offense, Egypt's your team to talk about.
No, I've seen him play. I've seen Egypt play. Yeah, I've seen you guys play. But every time I have a conversation with anybody about Egypt, they got their twin towers. That is the first thing that I hear. They got the twin towers. And okay, so let's take it back. You won all. You were in the first team. You were in the first all defensive team, right? ACC, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So it's just everything is just defense. When you talk about you guys, that's what I keep hearing. That comes first whenever I have conversations. But I've seen the way they play. Yeah, I've seen the offense.
Offense wins games and defense wins championships. So I'm just going to definitely go with defense every single time.
So Karabani, you're going to wrap up with some hard-hitting questions?
Well, my questions, it's a little personal. I get to the personal questions now. All right. So I love the way you danced around a little bit when she asked you who you love playing against and all that. And then you gave us, playing against Trez and all that. That was your teammate. I want you to bring it back home in the continent, in Africa. Which player have you played? Yes, in Africa, African competition. I would like to know what player you went against and you were like, man, this dude.
Yeah, but Karabani, I've been away for so long. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head. When I played in 2013, I was 18 years old and I played against Salah Medjari. I was still 18, so I can't really remember that matchup.
I'm thinking for you, it would be probably, there was Kenneth Kadri and Ben Mbala for Cameroon in that last qualifiers. And then it would have been Makram Ben Romdan from Tunisia. That would have probably been a really good matchup for you as well. Mine and Makram's, matchup was pretty nice, but I think, I can't. He is way older than he was, when he was in his prime. I think.
Right.
He's probably 35. 34. I can't. I don't know.
He's 30, by the way.
Okay. He's 30. Okay, and that's what I'm saying.
He
like,
looks a lot older. He looks a lot older.
Last couple of years, or like couple of years ago, he probably was in his prime, and I would love, I would have enjoyed playing against him back then. It just like I haven't had that rivalry with anybody yet. I haven't played somebody multiple times back to back where I know who I'm going to face and how I'm going to guard him, and I'm talking about him, thinking about him. Yeah, I only played one window in the last 7 years, and I think it was fun, but I wasn't focused on a single player who was supposed to go against. Like I would have lied if I said it any other way.
Fair enough. I'm not going to keep pushing that question. All right, so now I'm going to jump to a team. I know you guys are facing, you got Uganda coming up, right? You got Cape Verde coming up. You got Morocco coming up in the next window. See, I got the terminology right now. In the next window, right? Yeah, I got it right now. So out of those teams right there, what team do you think is going to give you guys the most problem?
I mean, honestly, it depends on who they bring. I mean, if I know a lot of these guys have players who play internationally in Europe or in Asia or like even in NBA. So it really depends on who he brings back. But honestly, like any matchup that happens between Arabic nations like Egypt and Morocco and Tunisia and Algeria, it's always a heated matchup. I think we love each other so much that it always transfers into the court. Yeah, relationship. So I think the Moroccans game is probably going to be a heated one. Even if it's not between players, it's going to be because of fans. It's still Moroccan people watching, and exactly. So I think that game is really going to be fun to play.
Okay, all right. Oh, Liz, it sounded like you wanted to add something.
I was actually going to say because you haven't seen the team list from Morocco, they're rebuilding entirely. So they've kicked out all their veterans and they're going with a seriously young team. So I wouldn't be surprised if you guys walked all over them. I would actually say, I'd actually say Cape Verde is a team that you guys need to pay attention to. Their starting five could be very good. Knowing who's going to be available for them, I think they're the team that you guys can't overlook, or you're going to have a Cairo 2017 nightmare.
Right.
Well, this is why, earlier I said overlooking anybody is not going to be an option. I think we're going to be ready for every single person, and we have to set the tone for ourselves first before everyone else is. We're here to compete, and honestly, if my goal and everyone's goal here is to go to to go to the World Cup in 2023. So we're going to have to beat some big teams. I'm going to have to compete against Nigeria, Angola, and Senegal and Cote d'Ivoire. So like we're going to go against big teams, and we have to beat them. There's no other way. So we have to set the tone early.
Okay.
Send a message early in these qualifiers for sure.
Exactly.
Right. There's something that you said a little earlier, right? In terms of preparation and all that, you're not sure exactly who you're going to face. So that kind of like takes me back to your coaches. When you guys prepare for teams or a window, all right? I don't know if I'm using that correctly now. But when you guys prepare for the next round, all right, how do you go about it? Because you don't really know who you're going to play against. Do you just rely on how you play and hope that translates into winning? Or do you actually prepare? Like, I'm sure playing in college and all that, you have the scouting report. You know exactly who you're going to play against. You know exactly how they're going to run their plays. At least you know some of their plays. They might surprise you with a couple.
I mean, honestly, like, not as much as plays and players, but you focus on habits. I mean, Coach Liz said it. If you're gonna go play Egypt, Egypt is gonna take a lot of threes. It's habits. It comes from the league. It comes from players' personalities. So we look at that. We focus on our own development as a team. What kind of style we want to play, and how are we going to make the other teams play at our style and our pace. That way we can win. But at the same time, I mean, I can't focus on who's coming. I don't know who's going to be there, especially with all this COVID stuff. I mean, somebody might be on the team, and then 2 days earlier he takes the PCR test and he's positive, he can't travel. I mean, it's gonna be a big question on who's gonna show up. So you just have to focus on habits and look at the team, and, you know, in the history in the last couple of years, what their go-to habits are and how they play their game.
Okay, that leads me. Okay, all right, that leads me to a part 2 question. To that question, actually, we're still sticking to the same question, Coach Liz. So you probably might, jump in after this. So does that mean you guys heavily depend on adjustments on a game, because you could think that their habits are a certain way and all that, and then 2 or 3 players might not show up and they're not taking as many threes. Now you have slashes that are playing today. So do you guys really do you rely heavily on games adjustments?
Absolutely. I mean, it's not just for the Afro games. I mean, this is the new basketball in the whole world. You have to do something different. You have to be ready with, playing A and playing B and playing C. I mean, we can talk about playing man-to-man, and then you go into the game and they're crushing us. So you have to switch the zone. You have to do something different. You have to bounce back. But it takes, a lot of preparation mentally more than anything else. You have to be ready. You have to be able to not, lose your focus and just stay in the game. So I think that's what we're working on. You're right.
Okay. And just from a coach's perspective, I'm interested to know how you guys scout. Do you guys break film down, or do you watch full games? And do you use advanced analytics?
We definitely use advanced analytics. We break, I think solely our assistant coach breaks film downs to clips. I haven't seen none of the 3 teams as a full game, and I think, probably because there's not a lot of, a lot of games that they actually have played that we could look at. But they actually have been breaking down, personnel. We have breaking down, offensive movements and defensive movements and, habits. And I think that's where we usually go for.
Yeah, I know you're an advanced stats guy. So shout out to him. He's doing a great job for you guys. So I just wanted to, a lot of teams don't do that kind of scouting. So it's great to hear that Egypt does.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I said, you have to look at habits, and the only way you can get that is by, advanced scouting. I mean, right now you can tell how fast the team plays, how slow they play, and what their offensive movement revolves around just by looking at their stats, and you can get a pretty good idea of what they're trying to do.
Definitely.
As a team, that is.
Okay, so you played for Patino, right?
Yes.
As a Cardinal, right? And now, what's the name of your coach right now? I'm sorry.
Ahmed Murray.
Ahmed Murray. Mary? Did I pronounce it right? Okay. All right.
Close.
Okay, so okay. I hope it doesn't get mad. I'm sorry, man. I'll learn your name. All right. Okay. I know it's important. So I just want to know, playing for like a Patino and then coming back to playing for your coach right now, or Zamalek. I'm not sure the name. I'm not sure who the coach there is. What is the difference? What have you taken? What you've learned playing for Louisville, and how was that translated playing in Africa?
I mean, it's tough. It's a different game almost. Different speed, different mentality, different physicality. Game here in Egypt or in Africa, and it's just a lot more physical. People are here, like everybody can jump higher and everybody can run faster, but you just
really
have to
here in Africa
play. And yeah, in Africa,
people jump higher.
Absolutely.
Okay.
They're just a lot more physically gifted. Now, when you go to, play, teams in Europe, people are more fundamentally sound. They don't waste movements. They know what they're doing. They're cutting in the right time. They're shooting in the right time. They're making the right decision. And in America, it's almost like a mix. But the competition in America is a lot higher than there is, over here. I think that's why it's just a different game. So you have to be smart enough to make that, adjustment in your own head. Like, you going to play in Europe, you can't play the same way you play in America. You can't play the same way you play in Africa. You're gonna be dominated because they're gonna excel at something that you're not ready for. So I think the biggest change that I had to make was realize where do I fit in, and how can I help my team first, even in Egypt or Zamalek, either one of them, how can I help them win, and how do I help myself look the best way there is. And I mean, when it comes down to coaching, I mean, Pitino was a Hall of Famer. I mean, he taught me a lot of basketball. Like, I can't thank him enough. I mean, he taught me even more stuff that has nothing to do with basketball, about just life and personality wise. But, at the end of the day, basketball, never stops. Like, there's always more stuff that I'm learning. And, coaches come in and he tells you his personality and, his vision, I guess, for the team. And you have to take that and translate it into the game. So it's just different. It's just definitely different, completely different game from Egypt and it is in America.
Well, okay, that part I got. My question was, how was it translated? Do you feel like you have an advantage coming with that kind of game to Africa, or do you feel like you're at a disadvantage now playing in Africa?
Once you figured it out, it's definitely an advantage. As soon as you get to that point where I know the different and I know where to strike. Does that make sense? Like, I can't come in here and try to play the American game. Now, I will lose every single time. But if I understand where to match and where to mix and when to use my American game and when to use my African game, this is where you strike. Like, and that's what I was trying to tell you. Like,
okay,
you can't, you just have to have like the right mentality. You know how to play fast and you know how to play slow, but when to play fast and when to play slow, this is the thing. That's where you make the decision as a player.
Right.
And I actually think, though, that a lot of African players who went to college in the US really struggle with that. And you see in the first couple of tournaments that they have this thought like, well, I've just been playing in America, I should be able to translate to playing here.
Yeah.
And normally it's a bit of a bust for them. Let's be honest.
I definitely understand that.
Yeah.
Even it comes down to the simplest thing as, like a referee's call. Some stuff, this is definitely a foul in America, but it's not a foul here, and you have to play through it. You have to understand how to play through it. It's not just about, oh, I'm going to play through it. No, it doesn't come that way. You just have to use that for your advantage. And, if it's not called on you, and it's definitely not going to call for you, so you just have to balance that out. And this is just the simplest thing, like, just referees, but it translates into like every single thing, like even just comes down to the mentality of your teammates. In America, there's no such thing as a blowout. You're always coming back. But here,
right,
you can go into the game, you'll be up by 12, 14 points, and you might actually win the game by 20 because people kind of like throw in the towel. So it's just a different mentality, and it forms your idea of how you want to play. And that's why I kind of, coming back to what I was saying earlier, is like, we got to set the tone early. We got to go in, get that first punch out, and show people that we're here to compete, and that, we have had a bad history in the last, probably 10 years or so, but we can definitely be back, and, our new team is going to be something else.
I think you guys showed that with that win over Tunisia, because I know you guys really gave it your all, and that was detrimental to your next game. But being able to beat Tunisia really showed everyone else, oh, Egypt isn't down the pole too far at the moment. They're starting to rise. And I think that's what's really exciting about these upcoming qualifiers, seeing how much you guys have progressed since then. But I think flipping it entirely with, young African kids who are playing basketball, what kind of message do you want to give them about, working hard and playing in Africa and the goals that they can work towards?
I mean, I always come back to my story when I try to think of that. I mean, I come from an education family. Excuse me. You know, growing up, I really focused on, you know, going to school, being at the top of my school. I was always, you know, in the top standings in school, and my, you know, being, you know, in that area where I can put myself in a situation to get a good degree was something detrimental for my family. Like, this is it. You know, I played basketball as my hobby all the way really until I was done high school. You know, my goal was I will finish high school and then I'm going to quit basketball. I'm just going to go focus on, you know, in my education. I mean, that's, I don't know, 7-8 years ago. And that's what I thought, and that's what we knew. I mean, yeah, basketball was fun and I loved it. And that's the only reason I played it. It was not because if it was a career, and it was not because, you know, I was focused on it that I'll make something out of it. It was just because I loved it so much. And I enjoyed going to practice every single day. I would show up to practice an hour and a half early because I loved it. Again, it was definitely and only because I loved it. It was not because I'm looking to go a place, and it was not the mentality at all. But thinking about it now, my mentality would have been different, is because I know now that I can make something out of it for myself and for my family. You know, my family, nobody in my family played basketball. So it was something new for me, and that's why I didn't have that mentality going into it. I still did what people would do now, you know, like anybody who would tell you that they're trying to take that basketball into the next level, they would go an hour early to practice. I still did that, but mentality was different. And a lot of people would ask me, well, you probably would have, you know, benefited from that mentality. I was like, I don't think so. It's because it kept it fun for me. It kept it live. It kept me enjoying it. I'm 25. I've been playing since I was 9. And not for 1 second did I feel like basketball is like too much or like I'm bored of it. Like, I don't quit. Like, I don't play back. Like, I never stop playing basketball. Even in, you know, Corona, I would still get some shots up because I love it so much, you know. And that mentality kind of pushed me all the way to where to go. And even after high school, I had the decision to make. I was like, you know, either study engineering or, you know, play basketball. And, you know, I chose to play, you know. And my family was probably, you know, thought I was crazy back then, but but nonetheless, they still supported me. My dad, you know, supported me, and he told me, I mean, you're still going to go to the States and you're still going to get a good degree. So, you know, do whatever you love. And it translated after that. After that, it came down to where, well, I can make a career out of it. I actually can, you know, earn my living, you know, out of something that I really love to do. And I think I'm the luckiest guy, you know. Every single time I think about how I'm doing what I love and it's making me money. A lot of people who are like, you know, they work at a job they don't like or they don't enjoy. See, like, this is not me. No, I do something that I love and I enjoy it every single day. And it still makes me a living. So I'm definitely lucky.
Living the dream.
So back to your question, I would, you know, I would definitely say you just have to go with your guts sometimes. Like, even if it's not something that you know, even if it's not something that your family knows. And I'm not telling the kids to kind of go off their parents, but if it's something that you think you can make something for yourself out of, you should definitely try and go ahead and pursue it. But at the same time, you have to support yourself. You have to surround yourself with a support system, people who would tell it to you straight up. Because if you're not good enough, you would want to know. If I wasn't good enough, I definitely would want to know that I was not good enough to make it. And I would not hear it from somebody that I don't know. I would only hear it from people who are closest to me. So surround yourself with people that you trust. Surround yourself with people who would tell you the truth and only the truth for your own benefit. And after that, everything is just going to be fine.
Preach on.
Great advice.
Hey, there's one part of your I guess your history or your bio that I really don't understand. So you were in Egypt and then you went to the States in Orlando for high school? Or you went to high school? My
senior year in high school.
Right.
Well, it wasn't like a big high school. Like, I already finished high school here in Egypt, but just because of the difference in the education system, I had to get an extra year where I get my SAT. So I took an extra year of high school to get my SAT and then went to college.
So you played 1 year of high school in the U.S.?
Yes, pretty much.
Okay. All right. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. Yeah. So, Coach Liz, I'm sorry. I have one huge question left for Honest. I know I'm sure you're pretty busy, right? You got to get back to practice, or today you're not doing anything, are you?
No, we're off this morning, so.
Okay, good. Still, we're not going to waste a lot of your time. But here's your moment, man. This is your moment. I know a lot of people are watching us. I know a lot of people are watching you right now. If you were to say one great thing about Egypt to sell it to the rest of the world, or the people that know nothing about Egypt, what would you say? Sell it. Let's hear it.
I would definitely say that forget about media. I've been back, full time here since 2018. And Egypt has been safe. Egypt is, by far the Egyptian people are the most humble and the most careful and the care for people. Like, if I have to compare them to the Americans, people here are way nicer. People here are more genuine. Egypt as a country, we have here everything that you need to have fun. When food, accommodations, history, beaches, pretty much everything. I mean, we have the pyramids. So
wait a minute. So wait a minute. What you're trying to tell me is everything is better in Egypt, because you say we got everything.
We got everything. I promise you, you're gonna taste food that you never had before. You're gonna drink some juice that you never had before. History here, for people who love history, it's mind blowing, and it's soul. It's definitely soul refreshing. I still even go. People, friends with, my friends from America come see me. Mango, my teammate came here and took him to the pyramids and around. And it's definitely fun. You're gonna enjoy yourself. Nothing here closes early. You can go out at 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning, and you still have something to do. It's definitely fun. I mean, I enjoy it, and I'm a citizen of Egypt. I still enjoy it every single night. So I would definitely feel free for anybody who's out there that would really want to come here and enjoy. Just hit me up. I will do by. It's fun. I can't express it enough, because we really have everything. If I have the time, it's just basketball is so much that there has so much here that I really wanted to see, and I just haven't been able to because of my schedule. But we have everything. Sometimes I feel like I don't need to go anywhere. We have the beaches, and we have the areas where you can kind of like do nothing and hang out and.
Okay, I'm compelled to asking you one more question after that answer.
Absolutely, go ahead.
If you couldn't live in Egypt, where would you live? Because I know Egypt is everything, so I just want to know.
I think Alexandria is the best place to be.
I would probably say Hurghada.
Oh.
Hurghada.
Why?
I'm a laid back person, so I like quietness. I like, and I don't know, Hurghada is so beautiful. The sandy beaches. I mean, Alexandria is great, but if you really want to enjoy the beach and enjoy the sea and enjoy everything that comes with it, Hurghada and Sharm el-Sheikh and every single city that's kind of closer to the Red Sea than the Mediterranean Sea. The Red Sea is so much calmer. The beaches there are more beautiful. The water itself is crystal clear, and I love it. I go to Hurghada pretty much every time I have 2 or 3 days off. I just take my car and go to Hurghada. It's about 5 hours to drive from Cairo, and I just go there, spend 2 or 3 nights by myself and with my family, and just come right back. And I love it. And I'll probably, if I have to choose a place where I can just kind of sit down and relax and do nothing, it's just Hurghada every single time.
Nice. Now, I have a final question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Female coaches in Egypt. How is the rise of female coaches going, since we haven't seen a lot of female coaches, generally speaking, in Africa, but in North Africa, you know, the Arabic countries, I really feel like we haven't seen any female coaches breaking the glass ceiling there.
I don't know if it's a mentality thing or what, but I think most female coaches are more focused on, you know, like women's basketball. There's a lot of female coaches who are coaching, you know, women teams, even in Zamalek. You know, a couple of years back, the first team's coach was actually a woman, and like, I mean, they're here, but you're right. I haven't seen anybody who, like, you know, came all the way to the national team kind of level. So that's actually a question to ask. I mean, I don't. Maybe it's because our women's teams hasn't been, you know, like a top form lately, and maybe in the history we haven't had that woman who, like, you know, kind of dominated the circuit in a way that would help her to become a coach. But I think the women's team lately has been making strides into becoming something that you could reckon with. So I think there's like some names who play, like Soraya is like a really good player.
Yeah, she's really nice. I've seen her play. She's really nice.
Yeah, so maybe this is the kind of, you know, a female player who maybe when she quits, she's going to be involved more with basketball. I think, you know, a lot of times, you know, female players, when they stop playing or quit, they go on and focus more on, you know, their jobs or their families or whatever, and they don't actually go back to actually coaching, you know, in basketball. So I think that's the reason. It's just the interest is not really there.
So if I walked into Zamalek's training facility and said, okay guys, I'm here to run a session, how would that go down?
I mean, it will be an honor for us, trust me.
Nice save.
No, I think it's I mean, we're not going to look at it like if it's a woman or a man who's going to coach us at all. I mean, I don't think about it that way. I don't think anybody here does. As long as, you know, you're like, as a woman, as long as you're definitely going to help us get where we want to be. And you have something to add and you have something to say and you always, you know, on your toes. And I mean, I know in other fields, you know, some women excel a lot better than men does. So if you are, then, you know, why not? Absolutely.
Good to know.
Yeah. So, okay. Do you see you guys winning it all, AfroBasket, this year?
Next year?
I mean, next year. Well, I mean, look, you understand, 2021, right?
I always compare it to 2013. 2013, we were not by far ready. Like, I mean, Coach Liz remembers, we probably lost the first 3 games in our group and we were 4th in the group, and everybody thought, well, here's Egypt. We're going to play in around the 16th with Tunisia, who was in the top of their group. We're going to go in and we're going to get smacked by 30, and boom, we beat Tunisia, and then boom, we beat Cape Verde, and then boom, we beat Senegal, and we went to the final game.
It's crazy.
It was definitely mind-blowing for us, honestly. I mean, it was a hell of a remontada with coming back, so it was definitely a hell of a run. So that's what I always come back for. You know, we were not by far ready as players. We had a lot of, you know, older guys on the team, people who were, you know, if you compare personnel from our team now and our team back then, we will probably be a lot better now. But again, when you play with national teams, it's not just about your personnel. It's about more. It's about, you know, like passion. It's a lot more about commitment, and it's a lot more about buying into the team chemistry and buying into the team style play. So I would love to say that we are working towards it. You know, it's going to come to mind that I have to look at the other teams and have to see how they're preparing and everything. But for me, that's my goal. And I know that's what every single person on our team's goal as well is, go out there and, you know, have a shot at winning it all. Definitely.
Nice.
Fair enough. All right. So that was a more political way of telling me you're not sure if you guys are going to win it all, right?
No, that's more way of saying that I respect every single team on the continent, but we're gonna try to win it all.
Yeah. Oh, hey, look, I remember 2013. You guys eventually lost to Angola in the final.
Yeah, we lost to Angola in the final.
Yeah, and look, that wasn't something to be disappointed about. They were in their prime in 2013. That's
and trust me, if we went to that game with a mentality of winning, we might have had an actual shot. But we were shocked of the fact that we actually. I'm being serious. I was 17 years old, and we haven't played in a World Cup in 20 years, I think, Coach, something like that. And once we won that semifinal game and we actually qualified, the final game was not. It was we didn't even play. I think we didn't.
They were happy to be there.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure we just kind of we don't really care about winning at all. We just qualified to the World Cup. It was a mistake. I'm not saying it's a good mentality to have, but that's what happened. We had a lot of guys who were all dreams is to just play in the World Cup before they quit basketball, and